So, as many of you know, Donald Trump enacted reciprocal tariffs, which, by the way, were not reciprocal tariffs. They were actually just the trade deficit with those countries in like one of the worst moves and one of the worst economic moves you can ever do as a president. So yeah, the tariffs are really working. I'm trying to find a good picture of like him holding the tariff sign. One second. I'm sure I can find one. Trump tariff. Many people are suspecting that it was written by AI because there are some cities on there that don't make any sense at all to be on there because there's no one that's living in those cities and islands. Here's a good image. Okay, smart guy. Let's see you take a crack at it. Oh Lord, oh Lord. Oh. Here we have someone like reverse engineered it essentially. This guy said, just figured out where these fake tariffs come from. They didn't actually calculate tariff rates plus non-tariff barriers as they said that they did. Instead, for every country, they just took our trade deficit with that country and divided it by the country's total exports to us. So we have a $17.9 billion trade deficit with Indonesia. Its exports to us are $28 billion. 17.9 billion over 28 billion equals 64%, which Trump claims is the tariff rate that Indonesia charges us. What extraordinary nonsense this is. And here we have Kush Desai, the White House deputy press secretary, saying, no, we literally calculated tariff and non-tariff barriers, and then places some text here that he didn't read and places a formula here that he also doesn't know, I guess, or understand. And it's so bad that he got community noted. This person broke it down, said, here's the total exports, here are the total imports. That's the trade deficit. And then the price elasticity for import demand, and then elasticity of import prices with respect to tariffs. Hence, it's a formula that calculates the deficits over the imports. And then because Trump was feeling generous, they halved that tariff. And here he responds saying, no, you absolutely did not calculate them. Do you understand the formula in your screenshot? It's the deficits over imports times 0.5. As the document says, that's the formula you use to calculate the tariff rate you're charging every country. Are you seriously pretending otherwise? Dude, like Elon Musk is about to remove community notes. I feel it. I feel it, guys. I feel it. Yeah. And the White House press office is saying your tiny, feeble minds can't comprehend the math involved in the complex formula of 4 times 1/4. Oh, dude. And I'm gonna be guessing that there is gonna be a civil war because Nintendo just announced that because of tariffs, they're delaying the launch of the Switch 2. The original launch was, I think, June 18th, which is really upsetting for me because I haven't bought a Nintendo product ever in my life. I've borrowed other people's Nintendo products, but I've never had my own. And this was going to be the first time that I was going to own. Sorry, they're delaying pre-orders. Sorry, pre-orders until they find out more about the tariffs. Pre-orders are delayed. Oh my God. Anyways, I was just really upset because this was going to be the first Nintendo product I bought in like ever. And now I don't even get to buy it because they're delaying the pre-orders. And even when they do eventually release it, it'll probably be $1 billion. So yay. Did you see that Trump thinks he put a tariff on fentanyl? By tariffing the value of this horrible and deadly drug in order to make it more costly to distribute and buy. The sale in our country, large amounts of fentanyl. Yes. Excellent. Good. Yes. Yes. Don't worry, there's still more. There has been crazy cope. There has been crazy. How do you feel about $80 games on the Switch? I mean, I'm only going to buy like 3 games, so that's fine. Do they even have more than 3? It's Fire Emblem, if one of those games ever comes out. Like what, the Mario Party and like kart game? And then whenever Pokemon comes out every 5 years or whatever. So that's all I need. Okay, let's be real, guys. Come on. Animal Crossing. I never really got into Animal Crossing. I'm going to be honest. Anyways, yeah, conservatives have been on like the coping arc. They've been on the crazy coping arc. So let's see. Let's watch them go to Copenhagen.
And he's delivering. And you know what? I don't really care about my 401k today. You know what? Not that I can afford it, not that it isn't important, not that I'm not at a point in my life when I should be worried about my 401k, because I am. But this is what I believe. I believe in this man. And I believe that what we're seeing now with his bringing in $1 trillion in business and manufacturing and companies moving back to the United States, and he's delivering.
I'm sure Jesse Waters won't deep throat Donald Trump. Let's watch.
Greg, think it's an exciting time to be alive. We've rewired the entire world in a way we haven't seen in 100 years. And it's great. And hopefully it works out. I haven't looked at my 401k today. I'm going to look at it tomorrow. Actually, maybe not. I won't look at it for another month. But you just, as he said, have to remain calm.
So there's been that defense of, well, I just don't need to look at my 401k. If I don't look at it, we're good. If you don't test if you have an illness, you don't have it. You can just pretend you don't see it, and then you're good. The other defense has been that we actually don't need to import any of these things that we import. Overheard in the newsroom, I just got something from a vanilla company. I guess 70% of the world's supply comes from Madagascar. We're going to have months and months worth of stories out of this. Hard to even know where to begin. Madagascar is now facing a 47% tariffs. Vanilla is in vanilla ice cream, and what else? Yeah, it's just in vanilla ice cream. It's not used in anything else. And it's never been used in anything else. Ever, actually. Okay. Sure, why not? Okay. Chat, just for a frame of reference, and it's used in almost every single baked good. And I don't know if you guys know this, but the vanilla bean is from a flower. Flowers are famously hard to grow and annoying to take care of. I'm sure if you've ever tried to grow your own flowers, you got at some point pissed and gave up. Because I know that I have. Because they're really annoying to grow and they're very temperamental, and it's kind of hard to just magically start scaling all of the vanilla beans that you would need. Make America flavorless again. And vanilla isn't so commonly used. We literally use it to mean basic. I mean, yeah. It's just like the basic flavor we put in most baked goods. Anyways, that's okay. That's fine. We don't need that anyways. It's cool. It's cool. But luckily everybody else has just been coping about everything else as well. No, not my Heckerin consume products. I honestly feel like sometimes I'm insane when I read posts like this after an election that was almost entirely about the cost of things going up. The economy is the most important thing, and that's why I'm voting Donald Trump. And then as soon as Donald Trump makes things worse, the response is immediately, yeah, well, I don't need things, okay? I'm not greedy. Again, I feel like I have to bring up like the Red Scare propaganda that Americans have been pushing for literally ages, talking about how in communist Russia, they have one bread and you must eat that bread. In communist China, they only have one cereal. You must eat that one cereal. It's the only one. And now when we're going to have to deal with this ourselves because we're deciding that everything is going to become more expensive, suddenly we don't need all these goods, actually. Why do we need all this stuff? Oh, you want vanilla beans and you want coffee beans and you want all these things. We don't need all that stuff, okay? Actually, go fuck yourself. We need one bread and we need coffee that is not actually coffee. It's caffeine. That's the color of brown. And that's it. We're good. Okay. How exactly am I supposed to buy American coffee? And here it shows like the regions where coffee is made, because again, you need a particular temperature and climate. You need to have the coffee biome to grow coffee. You can't just grow it wherever the fuck you want to grow it. To which people respond saying, coffee isn't important. Okay. Maybe AI can grow the coffee beans. Ah ha 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 ha. Ah ha ha ha. USA is making a hell of a lot of semiconductors. Ah ha ha ha. Well, the problem with, like, again, I've since talked about this a billion times, but the problem with tariffs is you can't just place the tariffs and expect people to be able to build the facilities needed overnight. Like, factories don't get built overnight. Farms don't get built overnight. You can't have magically, I mean, how many kilos of coffee are consumed by Americans a year? Nearly 3 in 4 Americans drink coffee every day. 36% of people drink 3 to 5 cups of coffee a day. 50% of people purchase coffee from a coffee shop at least once a week. How long could it take for a coffee bean plant to grow, Michael? 2 days. And also, what materials are you using to make?
What materials are you using to make the factories? They have to come from somewhere. Canadian steel? 25% tax on raw good.
There's also the reality that certain tariffs don't make sense. Like, for example, blanket tariff on Japan, right? Blanket was like 24% tariff on Japan. Do you think we're just going to start making our own Nintendo in America? Or we're just going to make Pokemon at home, I guess. Like, it doesn't make sense. It doesn't make any fucking sense. Ah! It's called Pal World. No, I don't like Pal World. I don't like that one. I don't like that they're making the weird sex game. I don't like that. This has been a really interesting defense as well. This the S&P 500 is now only up 118% in the last 5 years instead of 135%. And everyone is on CNBC crying. Quote, stop looking at how the market is reacting to our new policies and instead focus on how well it's done under mostly Trump's Democratic predecessor is an incredible new talking point. Do we know how digital goods are affected yet? I don't think that they know how digital goods are affected yet. American Mario is just him with an AR-15 hunting Luigi for killing the CEO under the direction of President Bowser. Stop. Up 107% now. Yay. Yay. That's good. This is how digital goods are being affected. Coltman comes entirely from outside the US and it's used in every basic electronic device we have. Well, I think when he was talking about digital goods, I think he meant like, or that one chatter meant like buying a game online on Steam or something, or like buying a Nintendo game, like a digital copy of something, I think is what they were talking about. Not like the things that we need for digital hardware, whatever the fuck. Anywho, this one's a good one.
Trump, we have Pokemon at home. Pokemon at home. Pell World dating sim.
The Wall Street account tweeted Mount Moron, and it's the squad, basically. Hey man, you're the Wall Street Nav account. How's Wall Street doing today? You've got posts about AOC and Bernie Sanders and somehow even Hunter Biden today, but you haven't mentioned Wall Street. Any update? Oh God, dude. And it's bad enough that even Ben Shapiro can't defend it.
Yesterday, President Trump declared that it was, in fact, Liberation Day, his giant tariff policy that he just dropped on the market unilaterally, probably unconstitutionally. Trump's reciprocal tariffs impose hundreds of billions of dollars in new taxes on Americans, be the largest tax increase since the Revenue Act of 1968. One of the biggest tax increases on American consumers in the history of America. And it's going to cost American consumers. It will cost American producers who use inputs from other countries. The Dow Jones Industrial Average plummeted immediately more than 1,000 points. The S&P 500 plummeted more than 3%. The NASDAQ plummeted almost 4.5%. There are real-world implications for this sort of stuff. Trade wars are, in fact, not good and not easy to win, particularly if you don't actually have a plan. It is predicated on a bad idea of how international trade works. A fundamental misunderstanding of trade deficits. Trade deficits they're an accounting procedure. Trade deficits have pretty much nothing to do with the health of an economy. I can name you a period in American history where there was a fairly large surplus in America's balance of trade. The entire Great Depression.
Do you know how bad it is when Ben Shapiro is attacking Trump? I've said it since the beginning. Ben Shapiro has always been a grifter. The one thing he's never grifted on is Israel and like the ethno state that is Israel. I think he's always been very excited about it and has always been pretty pro Israel. I don't think he's grifting about those positions, but I'm pretty sure he's one of the biggest grifters when it comes to like the Republican Party. And he actually really despises the gaudiness of the current Republican Party, the MAGA party, really. And when it's so bad that he is actively criticizing it, I guess Trump did put tariffs on Israel. Yeah. Wasn't he a never Trumper? I wouldn't be surprised. I genuinely wouldn't be surprised. I mean, just like think about it, Chad. The type of guy to get on and say, wet ass P word. I mean, this just goes on and on. Do you really think that that guy is in support of Trump? Someone who famously is one of the gaudiest people you can ever fucking find, that the first lady, like, I don't give a fuck about it. I think it's cool, but that the first lady has like lewd photos of her. I mean, I think it's dope as shit. I think that's the coolest thing about the president. You think this type of guy, this guy would like that? Do you think he likes the Donald grab her by the pussy Trump? He doesn't like him fundamentally as a person. He believes that politicians should not behave the way that Donald Trump behaves, but he has no choice but to fall in line with the rest of the Republicans because Trump is in office and he has weirdly won over a lot of Americans. He's like a Mitt Romney type of guy, dude. But he has to speak positively about Trump. He has to, because Republicans against Trump don't really have a coalition. They don't have a strong coalition. I always thought Trump would have been a drag queen under different circumstances. I mean, there's that video of like Rudy Giuliani dressed up as a woman and the two of them are like borderline making out. Like, you have to understand, Trump is a New Yorker first, okay? Fundamentally, New York businessmen don't actually care at all about any of like the culture war stuff. They care about how many people they can exploit. Okay? And it's always been that way. I can promise you, Trump doesn't give a fuck about gender. He doesn't give a fuck about sex. The only sex he cares about is the sex he's having. Okay? He doesn't give a fuck about being prudish or how women should act or how men should act. He doesn't give a fuck about race. He cares about whether or not he can exploit your labor. That's what he cares about. The video is like him motorboating Rudy Giuliani dressed up as a woman. Like, he doesn't care. He doesn't care. And I've said this since day one. I've said that there's literally multiple times where he talks about trans people and he says, yeah, and we're going to make women's sports fair. And then the crowd fucking cheers like crazy. And he says, wow, that's crazy. You said that 5 years ago. Nobody cares. Suddenly now everybody cares. Wow. Never would have guessed it. He doesn't care. He doesn't give a shit about women's sports. Okay? He doesn't care. Oh my God. They could never convince me he's a Floridian. He's a New York psycho queen at heart. You have to understand, guys, legally as like a New Yorker, you're required to see at least one opera, one play, and one like theater show. And that immediately makes you more open to like half of like leftist expression. And you're like, actually, I don't care about any of this stuff. Okay, back to work. Oh my God, dude, Bernie is popping the fuck off. Dude, whoever's like the media manager for Bernie, dude, he's posting videos, 20 hours, million views. Holy shit. We'll watch this tomorrow as well. I really want this shirt. I really want it. I really want this shirt. Oh my God. Make America great again. And it's all red. Beautiful. Beautiful. Excellent. One thing I will say is at least there are some conservatives that aren't cowardly enough to delete their tweets of them saying, Trump would never do something as stupid as put blanket tariffs on every country. Like this guy. No one other than fairly stupid partisans on the left think Trump is truly going to implement 20% tariffs on everything across the board. I won't delete this because I'm a man of honor, but yes, I was wrong about the tariffs in November. He has indeed put blanket tariffs on every country. And now we're seeing the same thing, by the way, with like the third term presidency. Asman put out a video. Trump is 100% serious about running for a third term. And the fucking 4chan green text. Haha, I told you he's going to become a dictator. Based, haha, content president. Remember when we all rang the alarm bells on that and we said, hey, what do you mean he's just joking and he's just trolling? And they're like, he would never do that, okay? And now he's like talking about it and saying that there are ways to do that. And everyone's like, huh? When? What are you saying? What? No, he wouldn't. No. That's not. He wouldn't do that. No, he wouldn't. I don't speak English, actually. I'm sorry. I don't actually understand what you're saying. Happy Liberation Day, everybody. Are you tired of winning? Guys, are you tired of winning yet? Laura Ingram, Democrats are fueling the panic. Ignore the Dow doomsdayers. Okay, it's not like Trump himself said that if a president drops the Dow by 500 points in a day, they should immediately resign. As just a quick little treat, can I just watch this Laura Ingram section?
Good evening, everyone. I'm Laura Ingram. This is Ingram Angle. Thank you, as always, for joining us. Now, if you have been checking your 401k, maybe obsessively over the last few days, it's understandable that the steep decline
Let me raise the volume a little.
has you worried. The market slide is real, but it is also temporary. And the people I trust are right when they urge you to hang tight, do not panic sell. But of course, the Democrats, who we know are incapable of raising the standard of living of middle-class Americans, Their only response is to fuel the panic.
Dude, being Trump News. Dude, sorry, I said Trump News. Imagine being Fox News and saying that CNN and MSNBC are only good at fueling panic.
We've seen close to 8 or 9% of the stock market drop. That means a lot of people's retirement plans are going out the window.
Also, notice that they removed their stock ticker. Yeah, I know that they had it up for fucking 3 decades, and then, oh my God. Fucking Jesus, sorry.
In the markets again today.
For families, for small businesses, for small farmers in my state, this is devastating.
But yeah, Fox had the ticker on for 28 years straight and then decided, actually, we're going to remove it.
And of course, they were quick to dismiss at the same time that gangbusters job number that came out today, which beat expectations at 228,000 jobs created in March. Remember, that's without the tax cut that's coming.
You mean without the taxes that are coming? Guys, one of the biggest not false flags, but one of the biggest bullshit numbers, by the way, is the total number of jobs created. It doesn't actually, first of all, besides the fact that the number and the way that the methodology of getting that number is on shaky ground, besides that, the reality is the number of jobs that are created in a country or created in a particular month, it's not a good measure of, 1, economic health, and 2, average standard of living. What percentage of those jobs were low-paying jobs that people had to take on as a second job to be able to pay their rent? What percentage of those jobs were gig economy jobs? How many of those jobs that were created were people signing up for Uber to start driving because they need to get another job to pay? Because when I say job about Uber driving, not that I don't think it's valid work, but rather that it's bullshit that they call that a job, because you don't get medical benefits. You don't get the benefits of being an employee because you're considered a contractor. You don't get compensation in any way for the destruction of your vehicle or like just the wear and tear for your vehicle. You don't get like a 401k for it. Not that it matters now, but you guys get what I mean. Not that it isn't valid work, but rather that it's bullshit that that we even call it a job.
Well,
how many are rehires from mistaken Doge layoffs? Mm-hmm.
I had to tell you, when you hear the usual suspects predict the worst or claim that Trump's approach is ruinous, well, remember this. These were many of the same people who told Americans to be patient when China began to devour our manufacturing sector. So why would we ever take economic advice from them? They told us that China would become more open, more free, less of an adversary if we allowed them to join the World Trade Organization back in 2000. And they certainly waved off concerns regarding American industries. They weren't going to shrink. Who cares, they said. I mean, after all, it's only going to be, what, made in China? Happy Meal toys and Nikes, maybe?
Oh, so scary. Quick, put on the scary China B-roll. Oh, so scary. Their military is marching.
Well, you fast forward to today, and here's where things stand. America has gone from being the dominant exporter of steel to number 4 in exporters behind China, Canada, and others. And now, if we do nothing, China will dominate in everything from tools, computers, solar panels, shipbuilding.
Are they actually doing the do nothing? China wins? Wait. First of all, it's too late. It's already happened. But also, is Fox News actually doing this? China already dominates in all of these fields. They've been dominating on solar panels for forever. They've been dominating on technological advancements, on medical advancements. They've been able to successfully reduce the cost of homes, which everyone thought was impossible. It's just nonsense. I'm sorry, objectively, one of the coolest things that's come out of China in the past, I would say, 5 years is a reasonable treatment for Alzheimer's, which is something that globally we've been trying to work on for how many years? 5 decades? More? And they have created a successful treatment, a microsurgery that helps basically flush out I think it's like your lymph nodes, because we always thought that it was a neurological problem, but we're starting to believe that it's like there's a bigger problem. It's not a neurological problem. And they have managed to successfully come up with treatment that is effective, like cutting edge.
Building, drones, satellites, and yes, of course, pharmaceuticals. Now, don't even get me started on what China is doing with artificial intelligence, quantum computing, and biotech. So Trump's economic reset, it comes after 30 plus years of disastrous economic policy that made a small subset of America very, very rich, while the middle class fell further behind.
Nobody was crying these crocodile tears when they were closing the Mound Road engine plant that Chrysler had in Macomb County, or the Romeo engine plant in Romeo, Michigan. Now that we're trying to bring these products back, these components and these vehicles back to the United States, all of a sudden, all the so-called experts are saying it's going to plunge us into recession and be terrible for the economy. If they're crying, I think we're doing something right.
As for the
You guys like my goblet? It's just an energy drink in here, by the way. But I feel very cool drinking an energy drink out of this. Anyways, the worst part about this as well is the no one was sounding the alarms or whatever is not even true. The people that were sounding the alarms on jobs and job manufacturing and just production in general going to China were people on the left that talked about how antitrust laws being focused on consumers and the protection of consumers was a bad call, and antitrust laws should be equally focused on workers. This is currently something, well, I don't know if it's going to happen anymore, but it was something that Lena Khan was working on regarding Amazon. That Amazon, you might be able to get the cheapest stuff at the most convenience, but it engages in a lot of bad practices against workers and business owners that are bad for the general economy, because workers are being fucked over, which is bad for economic health. So it's insane to be like, oh, actually, all of you were so okay with this, and suddenly now you're not. It's like, what are you guys talking about? What? No. Notice, by the way, they complain about the factories, but never mention who's bringing them up now that tariffs are up. Yep. I want to not feel delusional, and I want to feel like when people fucking sign on to their favorite TV show, which, like, dude, if you watch Benny fucking Johnson as your favorite TV show, you might be too cooked, to be honest. But I want to believe that people see this shit, at least other conservatives who don't maybe watch Benny Johnson, that they see something like this and that they recognize that they're on the wrong side.
Dumb. How much money did you lose? Everyone loses money. Everyone loses money. Losing money costs you nothing. This is just the reality of life. You're gonna, like, were you young and dumb? How much money did you lose? Everyone loses money. Everyone loses money. It costs you nothing. In fact, it builds quite a bit of character. In fact, you learn a lot of lessons, actually, by losing money.
It costs you nothing to lose money.
Losing your character costs you everything. Losing your country costs you everything. There are things you can't get back. The government can print more money, and it will. Sadly, that's just the reality. It's Fugazi. It's just that there's a boom and a bust every 10 years, and it's been that way since the invention of modern markets in the 1600s. The Dutch crash of 1649. You ever heard of it? It's just the way that it works. It's the way that, like, monetary policy has always worked. There's going to be ups and downs, especially as the table gets reset. If you lose the character of your country, if your town gets hollowed out, give me that photo of that town, man. Give me the photo of that town in West Virginia. Your town gets hollowed out and your entire neighborhood gets addicted to opioids and your steel mill shuts down and your farmers can't grow crops and there's no more cattle ranchers, there's no more cowboys, there's no more fishers, there's no more workers, and we're completely and totally dependent upon slave labor peasants across Asia.
I think his brain might be worse than other brains.
Make every good and service and pharmaceutical, then you've actually lost your country. And then we are the slaves. There you go. This is West Virginia. And it's so sad that this was a factory that provided thousands of honest, good-hearted, steelworking jobs for our fellow countrymen.
China did this. Me when I don't include regulation at all. Me when I think the free market is the best. Me when I believe in the invisible hand. Me when I let the government do nothing because the government doing stuff is socialism and doing too much stuff is communism. How could China do this to us?
And it was ripped. The guts of it got ripped out and shipped by people like Mitch McConnell so that they
Mitch McConnell, okay.
They could make a couple extra points in their portfolio to get stock swaps with Pan-Asian countries. And they sold out their countrymen, and I call that traitorism, actually. I think that's the definition of a traitor. You can lose money. You can lose points in your portfolio. It costs you absolutely nothing. You won't miss them when you're dead. Nobody ever had their net worth carved onto their tombstone. Doesn't even matter when you're on your deathbed. Who cares? It's just digits on a ledger. What will matter is, did you preserve your nation for your children? Did you view your country as something more than just an economic zone and tax cattle and slaves to China?
Slaves to China.
Put that up, President Trump. No crying in the casino. Is it really? I don't care. It's too good. Final point I'll make on this is, who's the slave and who's the master? You know, if your pharmaceutical and automobile and phone.
Why is he trying to talk like this and pretend like he's saying some crazy deep shit?
All the wires in your home, every electronic in your home, if everything that you use in your life is wholly and totally built by a foreign power that hates you, then you're the slave. You've always thought of America as the master of the world or as like an empire. It's not. Not if we are totally dependent and on our knees before these third world goblin dictators.
Who is this for? Who is this for? It feels like he's making e-boy content for women, but I don't know any women that would ever spend their time watching this. To which I ask, again, who is this for?
So it's time for a total reset. It's time for them to know who's boss. And it's time for us to be the master once again. That's the point of this country, actually, to be the master of our own destinies.
All right. Okay. All right. We went from expensive eggs are a national crisis to losing money costs you nothing. See, this is why I consume slop, guys. Okay, this is why I have to consume slop. This is why slop is the only thing that keeps me sane. Because I can't, my brain can't handle knowing that there's at least one person out there that watches this show. No, this is not slop. This is not slop. Ethan Klein is slop. This is why I consume content like Ethan Klein's, because my brain can't handle the idea that there's even one person that watches Benny Johnson's show and is like, this guy gets it. Like, I can't live in the same world as those people. I don't want to live in the same world as those people. I don't want to believe that I live in the same world as those people. Aiden Ross's confused reaction to his stocks crashing is so funny. Was there a clip of that I missed? That's really funny. Works to get Trump elected. Is confused when Trump has bad policies. What the hell? What do you mean? What? How? This can't be Trump's fault. This must be somebody else's fault. Why did Biden do this? Oh.